All right, so I've turned on the recording and I will allow persons to share their screen so we can see what they have done in terms of the take home activity. Courtney, you had indicated that you want to go first, so I will give you that privilege.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, man, you can go ahead. Hello, please be quiet. Thank you.
So are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, that's basically it.
Okay.
Is that good enough?
Any questions from the class? All right, there's no question from the
Sir,
class. Yes, Christine?
I was just saying no question.
Okay.
All right, I know it's not right to use the codes, enter the first number since it was a calculator, but our display of product of both number is. Because normally you say it's a calculator, you just deal with numbers. So is that okay?
Yeah, man, this is okay.
All right, so I can stop share now.
Yeah, man, you can stop share and thank you. All right, who else want to share?
Hello, hello. Oh, my mic
Yeah,
is mic working?
yeah, but it sounds very low.
Hello. Hold on. I'm not sure if I can fix that, but I can share, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, coming. This is coming. Mhm. Into the first level. Product, power, and mhm.
All right, good. Thank
All
you.
right, all right, sir.
Yeah, man, cool. Andrew, it was posted. You need to check the portal.
I can share now, sir.
Go ahead, Christine.
Are you seeing?
Yes, I'm seeing it. All right. Thank you. All right, so let me share again then, and we can continue. All right, so you should be seeing my screen. And just as a quick reminder, remember that for the first 2 weeks or so, we are using the concept of a Python notebook that will allow us to write the codes, test the codes, etc. And we have looked at what a variable is, and we have done some exercises with variables. And we have also looked at some arithmetic operators. We have also briefly spoken about data types, and we have looked at, common data type like integers. And we have looked at input-output operations. So we have used the input command or the input statement to allow us to enter data. And we have used the print statement to allow us to print data. And in using the print statement, we have focused on the F string or the formatted string that allows us to combine text with the content of variables in a nice single statement. So we are going to continue our deliberations in terms of content that we're looking at. So what I'm going to do is go back into where we were last time. And launch the notebook. All right, when the notebook is up, I will just carry it over onto the screen. And we're just going to continue in this one. Maybe I should do this first. And by the way, whenever you see me use the number sign, then that means I am actually creating a comment. So comments are just text that we place inside the program that will assist whoever is reading the program to have a better understanding of the purpose of the program. So your comments are not going to be executed. They're just there as additional information for the code. So today is what, May 14th, 2026. All right. So we have our notebook up and running. So we're just going to continue having a look at some more core concepts in terms of what it is that we want to discuss. I think I see something in the chat. Okay, all right. So the programs that we have written so far are all programs in which they are known as sequential by nature. Sequential means we organize them in terms of first, second, third, fourth, fifth command, etc. And these commands are going to be executed in the order in which they were actually written, meaning the first command you type is the first command that is going to be executed. The second one you type is going to be the one that is going to be executed second, and the execution continues in that vein. So that is known as the sequential mode of operation. We're going to find, however, that as we develop applications, we're going to need a richer set of operations. In other words, we don't just want sequential operations alone. For example, we are going to want to be able to execute particular commands based on particular conditions being true. And if these conditions are not met, then we don't want to do those operations. So if we have a look here at the code base, you would realize that we are creating a variable called score, and we're updating the variable. Don't matter about what we're doing now to update it. That's something that we'll soon look at. But the point that I want to bring out quite clearly is that there is a statement that says if. And it says if score is equal to something, then we want to do something. And then there's an else, which means if the condition is not met for the if statement, then at that point we want to do something totally different. Now, this is what we call the selection construct. So before this, we were looking at sequential constructs. But now we are introducing the selection construct, which means there's going to be some conditional criteria that we have to check to determine what is to be done inside the program. So let's quickly now go back to our workbook and we can have a look at this. We did age the last time. So let's say that we create age to be an integer. And let's say we want age to be entered by the user. So that's input, enter age. And because we want this to be numeric, then we want to convert this input from the user into an integer. So we're wrapping the input statement with int. And then after that, we want to do a check. And let's say we want to check to see if age. By the way, are you seeing this screen properly, or it needs to be bigger? Is it
Bigger
big
would
enough?
be better.
Okay. Let me. That's okay?
Perfect.
All right, cool. So now we want to examine what is in age. And let's say, for example, we're saying that if age is less than or equal to 17, then let's display a message. You are a child. Else you are an adult. All right, so we are going to execute this program. Notice I've just put everything in different cells so that I can run the cells independently. I could have placed all of this in one cell and just run it one time. But doing it in different cells is a bit more useful if we want to do debugging. So having done the debugging and understand that we have a program that is now workable, then at that point in time, we can now move ahead and combine all of the code into one code base. So that's the reason for doing it in separate stages. So let's execute. So I'm executing the first cell. Now I'm executing the second cell. It's asking for the age. And let's say that we enter 10 for age. And now we are at the point where we are now doing the selection statement. So let's execute. And notice that the message that is printed here says, you are a child. How did we get that being printed as opposed to you are an adult being printed? Well, it goes back to the if statement. So in the if statement, what we are doing is we are checking the value of age. And we are saying if age is less than or equal to 17, then we want to print you are a child. So what is in age? 10 is in age because that is what the user would have entered at this stage. Is 10 less than 17? The answer is yes, it is less than 17. Because it is less than 17, the condition, the criteria has been met. In other words, this statement here, age less than 17, is true. And because it is true, then it means that we now are able to print that statement. So it is only when it is true we will print you are a child. Let's go back and re-execute, and this time let's enter something like 25. So we execute, and we enter 25 for age. And now we are going to re-execute the if statement. And this time, you should realize that the message that we are obtaining is the one that says, you are an adult. So what have we just discussed? We have just discussed the importance of making use of this selection statement. And in the selection statement, what we are saying is there is a condition that we are going to check. And if the condition is true, then there are a set of statements we want to execute based on it being true. If it is not true, then we are going to execute some other statements. So the statements that are true are executed because they belong to the if. And the statements which are not true are executed because they belong to the else. The other thing that is important for you to note is the importance of indentation. So the indentation allows us to determine which statements belong to the if and which statements belong to the else. In other words, let me do some more print statement. Print A, print B. So there are three print statements that I have right underneath the if. Notice each of those print statements are indented. And what this means is that these three print statements are associated with the if statement. If I go back again and I re-execute, let's put 11 this time, and then we execute the if statement. Notice we get three print statements. You are a child, then it prints A, then it prints B. Why? Because all three statements here are associated with the if statement. Are there any questions in relation to this?
No, sir.
Okay, so excellent. All right, so there is a message about notebook not loading. Yes, sir. May I get some errors? So I don't know what I'm going, sir. Well, what kind of error you getting?
I did end up bookmark home, right?
No, you have to
And
run the command again.
I have to run the
The,
command again
yeah,
in
the
order to
last
open it.
one. Yeah, just the last one, not the first one to install.
Guide me again as well, please.
Go in the folder that you
Created.
created, and at the
Mm-hmm.
top you type CMD,
Mm-hmm. I did that.
and then you type what program name again?
Well, I did it
Python.
earlier,
Python.
you know.
Python.
I, I did it earlier, and that's
Type
exactly why I
Python
did
dash
it.
M notebook.
I think I did end up take a picture of it. So I think I've done one. All right, sir.
See it on the screen there now.
But it's on the screen now, and
On
I'm
the
saying
screen.
I did it earlier. I did it at the start, just to show you that that's what you need to do to re-execute your notebook.
All right, sir.
Yeah, man, no problem.
So, sir, also, sir, can you also post the videos them after in the classroom thing? Cause I got into class late, so if once you're done, you can post the recordings, please.
Um, you have to check the
It posted
portal. It
already.
was posted,
It was posted because I didn't see the first one.
but there's only one.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not seeing it.
It's
It's down
there.
the bottom. It's all the way down the bottom.
Sasha posted in the chat earlier. It's
It's at the
on the
bottom of the
Python May
OLS.
2026 class recordings.
Okay, yeah, I see it now because I wasn't seeing it in the usual space. Okay.
No, hold on. It wouldn't be in the usual space. Remember, we're over on Zoom. So therefore means I have to download it, make it process, and then I have to upload it. So I'm uploading it on YouTube, and then I am placing it in a container. Remember, the challenge that we're having is that whenever we use the big blue button, you folks are not able to hear me properly. So because we move it over to Zoom, then I now have to take the responsibility to process it and then re-upload it. If we're using big blue button, then it would have been done automatically by Vector.
Okay.
All right, so I hope everybody's on the same wavelength now. All right, cool. So we have just looked at the if statement, and what I'm now going to do is to illustrate that we have two types of if statements, or basically three types. We have what I'm going to call the single if. We have what I am going to call the double if. And by the way, please, you probably won't see this in any book. And we have what I call the multiple if. Now, these are my ways of referring to these elements. Now, the double if is the if else that we have just looked at. The single if would just be an if by itself without an else. And the multiple if is going to be a if, else if statement. And you can make use of these different commands based on the kind of logic that you want to implement inside of your program. So you have to decide when it's appropriate to use which. In other words, you are being exposed to some tools, and you have to determine when it is most appropriate to use a tool out of the toolkit. Let me do something different. All right. All right, so I just matched out a piece of code, and I wanted to look at the code, and then I wanted to respond inside the chat. Based on the code that you see, am I making use of the multiple if, the double if, or the single if? Type your answer in the chat, please.
Single.
Please type your answer in the chat. Thank you. All right, so I'm seeing a few responses. And most people saying that it is the single if. Well, all persons who have responded saying that it is the single if. And yes, it is indeed the single if. So if I execute this program, what are your expectations? Type in the chat what you expect to see as the output. All right, I see what you're saying, Dante. I'm just waiting on a few more persons to respond. All right, so there are several responses. So what we'll now do is to go ahead and execute, and we're going to see what obtains, and then you'll tell me why it obtains. All right, so it says that the answer is 0. So now we need to ask ourselves, why are we getting this as the result? I am seeing an if statement here. Why didn't we execute the if statement? Or if we executed the if statement, then why is the result still 0? All right, so Dante is saying, because you asked for the result, which was unchanged, and it is 0. All right, so I'll take that answer and run with it. So did we execute the if statement? And the answer to that is no. We could not have executed the if statement because the if statement is asking the question.
Hold on, the if statement is asking the question if
Is the
operator.
value, I am going through it. Just give me a sec. So the if statement is asking the question, is the value in upper equal to an asterisk? And the answer to that is no, because what was placed inside of upper was a plus. So a plus sign is not equal to the asterisk. Therefore, this condition is false. If the condition is false, we do not execute the statements which are associated with the if. Putting it another way, we only execute the statements associated with the if whenever the if statement is true. So in this case, the if statement is false. And because it is false, then it means that we are not going to try to multiply the two numbers. All right, so I can go ahead now and ask the question.
All right, so right, if operator equals, what's that, the asterisk there? But you said right, you said it was false, so that's why I didn't run.
Yeah, I say it was false. That is why we did not do the calculation of result being updated by num1 times num2.
And it is running it line by line, so it's going to read result in the first result. Print the first result.
Exactly, because the first result would not have been changed. So at the top, result is 0. We would skip over the line that says result equal num1 times num2 because the condition was false. Therefore, when we reach the print statement, the value inside of result would still be 0. Which leads me to a next thing that we're going to try. I see somebody mention about mix match operators. I'm not sure. Yeah, man.
Mismatch.
Yeah, man. So what that mean?
Because the operator is plus and the other one is multiplication, so they are different.
Okay. So it being different is only important in checking the condition. That is what allows us to know whether or not the condition is going to be false or true. But there's another issue here, though, in this program. So let's have a look at it. I'm going to change from the asterisk to the plus. And given that I'm going to do that, if I were to execute this again, then what would be the result? Type in the chat. All right, so I see three persons saying we are going to get the value 50. So we are going to test that assumption. So let's go. We're going to execute now. And there we go. It says the answer is 50. So how did we get the answer to be 50? Well, num1 is 5, num2 is 10. The if statement is now going to be true, right? If statement is true. In other words, whatever is in operator is actually equivalent to the plus sign. So exactly, Dante. So the condition for the if statement was met. And so result is going to be equal to num1 times num2, which is 5 times 10, which gives us 50. So yes, the answer is 50. But here's my question. Is this program a logically accurate program? And you can open your mic and talk now. Go ahead, Christine.
So I'm not answering the question. I wanted to ask a question.
All right, write down the question and then you ask it after. I want
Okay,
an answer
sure.
to this one first. Yeah, man, no problem.
Okay.
If it's logically correct, yes.
All right, so there's one person who agrees that it is logically correct. Are
But
there any other thoughts?
in other essence, if the values weren't provided and they were inputted, it would run appropriately based off of whatever operator you put in.
All right, noted. Now, I'm going to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that this program, while it executes, it is incorrect. There is a logical error, in other words. All right? So what is the logical error? Well, what operator are we testing for?
Positive plus.
Addition.
So we are testing for addition. So based on our output.
And in turn, the result is multiplication.
Okay, so based on our output, is it consistent with what the program is saying?
No.
And the answer is no. So this is an example of what we call a logical error. The program runs, but when we read through the program, our output is not matching up back with the expectations as to what the program should actually do. So in other words, we are doing a multiplication when the operation says that we should be doing an addition. And because of that, the program runs.
How can we say not logical? Supposing that we are programming it for a code. Let's say it's an input device and our thing is to put in a plus to generate something else, which is different from what other persons understand. Suppose it was designed so.
Well, that's faulty code. one of the key things about code is that it must be readable. So if it is that your operator is a plus, but it must do something else, then that's faulty.
That's what comments are for.
So let me go again. If it is that your program should be using a plus and you do something else, then that program is faulty. I want that to sink into the cognitive. That is not why we write comments. If that were the case, there would be no program that you would have that would be usable. Because as human beings, we work based on context. For example, when you look at Microsoft Word, you expect the toolbar to be at the same place, and you expect the cut and the paste to the cut and paste. And when you leave Microsoft Word and you go over to Microsoft Excel, you expect that cut going to cut and that paste going to paste. You don't want to give your user additional cognitive load that every application them going to pick up, it might do something different. And therefore, they have to go read through comments to figure out what is happening. Those are bad programming designs. So when we write our programs, we want them to be readable. We want them to be consistent. We want them to match back to expectations. I'm going to tell you this. You are going to write some codes within this same program. You're going to get it to work in terms of solving your problem. You're going to spend maybe 3, 4, 5 days getting it to that point. You write the code, you think about it, you get it to this point, you understand what you do.
But when you present it to the boss say, what that mean?
May not even talk about to the boss. Put it down for 3 weeks and then you go back to it.
You lost.
And I'm going to tell you that you yourself who did sit down and write this thing, not going to understand what you did actually do. Forget it to work. And hence the reason why we want to, as much as possible, write code which are readable.
So
If you not going to remember what you write, you can imagine somebody else who have to maintain this code somewhere later down the line.
So write clean code is what you're saying. Just write it.
Clean code. So, and don't get me wrong, sometimes when you're solving problems in the heat of the moment, you do some things and it work. And you're really not sure what happened, but you know that your output consistent. It's a little bit complicated in terms of the way it has been phrased. However, what we recommend is that you go back through it maybe a day or two after, and then you try to simplify it so that it is more readable. Because we know that for future maintenance, if you keep it in that complex form, although it work, it's not going to be maintainable further down the line. And that is why we also recommend that you put in these comments to clearly explain what it is that you have done. But you want the program to be written in such a way that you don't have to depend on a whole lot of these comment statements. Because as you look at it, it should make sense. Oh, operator is plus. Therefore, it must an addition that is going to be taking place. We don't want to say operator is plus, but them going to do exponentiation. That is hard to read, hard to understand, hard to debug. I hope I make the point clearly now so that everybody can understand the reason and the rationale. All right. So while that go and marinate, Christine, can
So
ask a question. 1 minute. Christine had a question.
Sir, when will the results be equal to 0?
When would the result be equal to 0?
I'm just trying to find out the rationale behind why the section that says result equals 0.
All right. So that is just known as initialization. So notice I have initialized all of the variables, meaning I have pre-populated the variables. So I populate num1 with 5, num2 with 10, the operator with a plus. And I also populated result with 0. That's my starting value. So at any point I print result and I get 0, then I know that no modification took place to that result variable.
Thank you, sir.
And you're clear on that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. Go ahead, Courtney. I think you were going to ask a question.
no man, that's zeroed out now.
All right,
It
bless
wasn't
up.
really a question. I was thinking crazily that when me write my program for nobody no pirate it or cheeky, them operator yeah me I go use.
Well, if it is that you're writing your program for you, then I mean you can do whatever you want.
Yeah
But
man,
if
no
you're
man.
going to be writing a program for an
All right.
enterprise,
Right, sir.
then
Right now is a calculated calculation programming this, right? But in other essence, you could literally say we're creating a keylog coding. We could present it like that. So if the operator was to be inputted and it's supposed to create a combination, if we press a plus, then we could tell the result to do whatever we want it to do. If we use let's say we're doing passwords. You get what I'm saying?
I hear
So
what you're saying.
if you press a letter, then it would give you a combination of numbers to do something with the numbers.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But even if you're writing a keylogger or something else, if it is going to be used by somebody apart from yourself, then you want it to be readable.
Yeah, it would still be readable, but the guidelines are set.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, but hear what I am saying. I mean, you can decide what you want to do, all right? But what I am saying is proper programming practice, you write your codes to be readable. So we're not doing any trickery inside of the code. The code base should be clear. And what we train you for is industry standard, enterprise standard. All right? So I leave it at that. All right, so moving forward. So this is the single if. Notice it tells us what to do when the condition is true, but it does not tell us what to do when the condition is not true. I hope you realize that. So we know what to do when the operation is true. For example, let me make it go correctly now. We'll put the plus. And let's say, for example, this was a minus. And I'm now going to do the execution. Notice that it says the answer is 0. When the answer is 0, as I mentioned to Christine earlier, it means that no operation was used to update the result variable. But
criteria was not
operation
met.
here is minus. So we should have done a subtraction. But in this case, we don't do a subtraction because the only criteria that was specified was for a plus. However, if we now put the else, then we can now say result is equal to, and let's just say num1 minus num2, which should give us a negative number, right? And let us re-execute. And now we get the answer is -5. So what have we done? We have told the program what to do when the condition is true. And we have also told the program what to do when the condition is false or when the condition is not true. So we have now made use of the double if. That's where we started out, the double if. So we look at the single if. Now we look at the double if. And we see in the cases in which the double if can be important. Finally, though, you should realize that there are some limitations with the double if. Because in terms of the operations that we can perform in terms of arithmetic operations, it can be more than subtraction and addition. So how do we handle that? Well, we can have a series of statements. And the point I'm making here is that we can have as many else if as we want. So let us change the operation to, let's say, multiplication. And we execute. Well, the answer is 50. Should be 50 because it means that this statement is going to be executed. If upper is equal to asterisk. So that's equal. That is true. So we are going to multiply num2 times num1. And if we change it to plus and we re-execute, then it's going to be 15. Why? Because it means that the operator would be equal to the plus sign. And so we would be doing the addition. Num1 plus num2. So 5 plus 10, 15. And this gives us a richer toolkit to work from in terms of doing the kind of processing. Now, the final thing to add to all of this is that this program that we have written is not dynamic. In other words, it is not the user who determines the numbers or the operations. These have been defined by us, the programmer. But when we write a program, we really want it to be used by others. So it therefore means that to make this complete, we would now include our input statements. And I know you already know how to do this. So enter number 1. And we're going to do something similar for number 2. And we're going to do something similar for operator. So now we are allowing the user to enter the data values. So we execute, enter number, let's say 3, enter number, let's say 6, enter operator, let's say it's the multiplication sign, well, 6 times 3, that should give me 18. And we are seeing the answer is 18. So this is now a dynamic program or an interactive program. The user is able to enter the data values, and we're making use of the multiple if statement to check to determine which one of these statements is true, and hence which codes should be executed. All right, any questions?
No, sir. Why you didn't put the operator in the middle of the numbers like a calculator?
Well, that could have been done. So you just reorder the way in which you place the statements. Yeah, so that could have been done. Any other observations? All right, so I guess it's time for you to try something then. Now you have to go and put on your thinking cap, right? No, AI is supposed to be used. It's supposed to be your own thought process to try and figure out how to solve this. All right, so here you go. You are creating an interactive program that will accept a number from the user. Everybody can do that. That's simple. The program should then determine if the number is even or odd and print an appropriate message. So if you enter 10, if the user enters 10, then what should your program say?
If the user, hold on, if the user enters 10,
If the user enters 10, what should the program say?
Even number.
even number.
Then it should say 10 is even, or this is an even number, or however you want your output to look. But yes, it should indicate that it's an even number. Good. So it means that you understand the assignment. So you now have, I'm going to give 10 minutes. 10 minutes to match this out. You have 5 minutes left. Once you finish, just type F in the chat, please, so we can keep track. Just giving a few more minutes for others to finish. All right, I think you got enough time. So let me stop sharing. And Jelani, you want to share your screen?
Still trying to set up Python, you know. I
But
just
you
wrote
type that
out
you
the code.
finish.
Hmm? Yeah,
But you
but I
type that you finish.
yeah, but I wrote down the code.
No, man, that you're not finished then, brother.
No, it's a simple if statement.
No, you're not
If
finished.
else.
If you're not write it in a Python and test it out, you're not finished. All right?
All right.
Yeah, man. Dante, make it a little bigger for me now, please. Control
Oh.
plus plus.
Hmm.
Control button. And then the plus. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so explain it to us now, please, so we can understand what's happening.
Hello. Am I still low, sir?
Yeah, just amplify your voice a little bit.
I look a bit like this. Good. All right. So first you accept the number from the user. So go with 13. Good. And then to determine if the number is even or odd, we use this. So any number divided by 2 with no remainder will print it's even, else it's odd. So 13 divided by 2 leaves a remainder. 13 is now odd.
All right. Manners and respect. Thanks. Yeah. So what we have just done, or what Jelani has just illustrated, is that we need to be combining all the knowledge that we have been exposed to. So in the previous class, I would have spoken about the different arithmetic operators, and in particular, we spoke about the different types of divisions that can be done. Now, just by our mathematical knowledge, we know that an even number is divisible by 2. Therefore, if we divide a number by 2 and there is a remainder, then that tells us that the number is odd. So we use that information and we couple it with the information that you learned today in terms of the fact that we can have our if statements, our selection statements. And then you merge everything together, organize it properly, and then you come up with a solution to the problem. So I trust that everybody kind of seeing how everything kind of linked or is related to each other, and how we have to, think about the problem and ask ourselves, how do we use the tools that we have been exposed to come up with solutions? Are there any questions? All right, so it sounds as if we're understanding what is happening. So it sounds as if what you need to do now is get like an assignment to do or something like that, so that you can go back through the recordings, the 2 recordings, and do some practice. All right, so that is something that I'll set up shortly and let you have that by maybe about next week, Tuesday. All right, let me share again.
As I know it, sir, the comment should be programming is learned through practice and examples.
Yeah, man, that is true. All right, so we have looked at the whole thing about different kind of statements. I don't want to do loops today. That might be a bit too much. So let me backtrack and let's just talk about some of the additional operators. All right, so we have explored all of the arithmetic operators, good, but arithmetic operators are not the only operators that we have. We have the assignment operators where we store a value inside a variable. And you have seen us making use of that before. You have seen us use the single equal sign. That means assignment, or it means to store. So in our example, did I remove it? All right, yeah, so like here, we are storing Bob into F name. Note, what we are using is the single equal sign. We are storing 42 into age. So the equal sign means to store, or it means to assign. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. Now, these additional operators are similar. So this means we're going to add a number and then we're going to assign the result. And once you understand how one of these work, you understand how all of them work. So I'll just do the +1. And once you see how that work, then you'll know the minus equal work or the star equal work, etc. So here goes. All right. So let us say we have num is equal to 5. And then we have something that says num is equal to num plus 10. And if I were to print num, then I'm sure that it will be easy to see that it's going to be 5 plus 10 is 15, and num is going to be updated, so the total value is going to be 15. So let's execute that. So 10 plus 5, that gives us 15, and then we'll update num. So we see that the answer is 15. This could have been written, so let me comment this out, as this. Num plus equal 10. So essentially, num plus equal 10 is the same thing as num is equal to, well, maybe I shouldn't be using equal. Num is assigned the value that is in num plus 10. This is the same thing that this line is saying. And let us prove it by just re-executing. And you see that we still get 15. So these two statements are equivalent. Num is assigned num plus 10. We can rewrite it a simpler way by using the plus equal symbol. So num plus equal 10 simply means add 10 to what is already inside of num. And when you get that output, place the result inside of num, or use the result of the addition to update the num variable. Let me see if that's gelling with you folks. So let us say if I were to execute this command, what would be the result? Type it in the chat. All right. So Kevin and Kiwane saying 30. Let's test that to see if that is true. And you are absolutely correct. So what it's simply saying is we want to use the value 2 to multiply whatever value is inside of num, which happens to be 15. We're going to get 30. We're going to use 30 and update num. Oh, Sasha, there's one that is inside the recording, the previous recording. So we did that in the previous recording. So just have a look at that. Yeah. So you pretty much know how these operations work. Because all of them work in a similar manner. All right. Then you would have noticed that today we made use of a comparison operator, the equal sign. So 2 equal sign is what we use to test for equality. So we want to know if something is equal or equivalent, then we use the double equal sign. If we want to test if they are not equal, then we use the exclamation followed by the equal sign. And I think we had used, greater than or equal today, or something like that. But these are just the things. Greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So these are commands that we know in terms of maths, and we are utilizing these same concepts in terms of our programming language. Now, in our next class, we will be looking at logical operators. We will be looking at membership, and I will be looking at loops. But I think this is a good enough space for us to end, because you have a lot to go and watch and practice. Because you have Monday one to go back over, and you have today's one to go back over, and you're going to have some practice that you need to do. So by now on the weekend, I will be putting up a worksheet based on what we have discussed, so that you can get some practice over the weekend. And then when you come back on Tuesday, we can have a look at how you approach those questions. And after that, we can move into the new content, like the loops and so on. What kernel? I use the default kernel. So when you install Python, whichever kernel it comes up with as the default, that's the one that we use. All right. So any additional questions? All right. So I have a question, folks. Do you think you're learning the material? Answer in the chat. I need everybody to answer so I can know who getting lost and all of those stuff. Are you
Nothing,
learning the material?
nothing,
YRN.
nothing new.
Yeah, same as Courtney, really.
All right. Excellent, Kevin. All right. So then that's us for the night, folks. And look out for the worksheet that will be posted on the portal by now and the weekend. So take care. And I'll
Okay,
see you
sir.
soon. Yeah, man. Respect Courtney.
Night, sir.
All right, Sasha. All right, Christine.
All right, all the ladies.